Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaM Sports Varsity. My name is Frank Langella. I'm joined by my co-host Marsilio Langella. Mars football is back in Section One
Yeah,
in the Independent League. Well, we're all hoping it's
it's
back.
we got some spring football now. That's
Yes,
now we're getting to the big leagues.
yeah. So we're going into spring ball, and we want to welcome everyone to our Frank's Finest Reveal Show. Last year was our first year covering Section One football, and things have grown, and we appreciate all the support that we've gotten from the players, coaches, and community. And we're back again this year, and I'm really excited to cover football again. Um, and for those who don't know that for what Frank's Finest is, it's kind of like a college football's preseason All American list. We put one out last year. It's recognizing the top student athletes coming back for each class. This video is for Class 1A. And, we want to recognize those top players coming back. And I know we spent a lot of time talking to coaches, talking to some scouts, watching a lot of tape,
Yeah,
a whole lot of tape.
whole lot of tape.
And when we pick these players, that's kind of the biggest thing we use. Tape is number one for us.
Hmm.
Then coaches and scouts. Then we look at stats and analytics and stuff like that. So it's a combination of a bunch of stuff. And I know we're going to ruffle probably some feathers
I'm
on our
sure
selections.
it's always the ruffles are always fed or always ruffled.
Yes. So we're going to dive into all the players. And I know we're not going to dive too deep into all the programs because that's going to be another show, our preseason show.
Yep.
We'll talk about, because I had conversations with a bunch of coaches, and those coaches who haven't spoken to us yet, right? Check your email, check your Twitter. We're always welcome to talk ball with you about your program. So, that's all good stuff right there. So, let's dive into our Frank's Finest show. And again, this is for Class 1A. We got videos for other classes, but our first reveal, and Mars, I got to say, in Class A is one of the more difficult ones because of the amount of teams that are in Class A, which gives you a boatload of players to look at, and there is a boatload of solid players in Class 1A, Mars.
For sure. I mean, this is the most competitive class, in my opinion, of all the different classes. Just because there's so many teams, there's so many top talent in this class that it's really difficult to pick a top player from
Yes.
each position.
It is. It's very difficult, and we couldn't even come to a consensus on some of the groupings. And we'll just say right now, the linebacker grouping was really difficult. Then we had a tie in that one. The skill position group, we had a tie in that one. And this group that we're going to talk about first, the quarterback position, was really difficult. There was no tie. We came to a consensus on this one. But this group was really difficult to go into. And I just want to start off by running through the nominees, the people that we had debates over for this position. And we want to recognize those kids because there's a lot of talented quarterbacks. This Class 1A is kind of the most robust class of the returning quarterbacks. And I just want to start off, first guy I want to talk about, Chris Donahue, quarterback of Brewster. This kid is built like a college prospect, right? At 6'4", 230 pounds. He was a sophomore last year, and you had to be impressed with the way he moved around the pocket and the arm strength that he showed as a youngin on the varsity level. And it would not surprise me that he has a breakout year this year and really solidifies himself as one of the best quarterbacks in the class. But this kid was another one that really impressed me with his size, with his strength, with the mobility that he has. Obviously, with young players, which you got to work on the most, consistency. So that's kind of the big one. The next, contender, Carlo Volpe of Pelham. Again, tall kid, a lot of success, right? Last year, he really was the engine for that offense. And you had to be impressed with his ability to throw accurately in intermediate throws. He has one of those strong arms that I really like. Another quarterback, Mars, Dennis Rodan of Clarkstown South. Second team All Rockland County. This kid had 14 touchdowns. At 6'1", 185 pounds, he is a smooth player. I like his mobility in the pocket. Nice throwing motion. But what really impresses me is the grit that he shows to hang into the pocket, make accurate throws, and he does show that good touch on those intermediate and deep balls. Ben Good of Sleepy Hollow. This kid, honorable mention all Putnam County last year. I say last year, but you know what I mean. 2019, after the last year's season. Another kid, a lot of success. 18 touchdown passes, 1,783 yards passing, Mars. And, what I like about him, I'll throw those numbers. When I spoke to his coach, he has a great understanding of the game, of the game. He has a great mindset. And although he has a thin frame, he has a really smooth release that I like. His accuracy and anticipation on all three levels, short, medium, and long throws, is what I like about him, especially in between the numbers. And he also shows that mobility that he can hurt you with his legs. So that's another one contender. Angelo Sparadino of Eastchester, another honorable mention, all Putnam County. This kid was kind of the real dual threat. 21 total touchdowns. Mars not tall at 5'9", 190 pounds, but he is stocky. And coach says, he's a natural leader on and off the field. And my take on him, again, not a big guy, stocky, very athletic, dual threat guy. He's like an added running back at the quarterback spot. He takes a lot of direct snap power runs. That was really deadly. But he also showed, the ability off play action to make good throws, deep throws, intermediate throws. Another kid. Another quarterback to talk about from Somers, Jackson Cossow. This kid is a tremendous athlete, 16 total touchdowns last year. He's at that wing T offense, Mars, and quarterbacks got to be able to run the football in wing T, and play action is huge for them, and he does that well. I know it's not a spread offense where the quarterback's doing a bunch of stuff, but I tell you, he's dangerous in open field. He's one of those guys who could really hurt you with his legs when you don't contain him, and he showed that accuracy off play action. He was one of the contenders. But now we go to Lords, right? Brandon Jorgensen, the senior. We want to talk about good size, 6'4", quarterback, 195 pounds, so a bit of a thin frame, but his accuracy between the numbers is what really impressed me about him, especially on intermediate throws. When he's on the hash, his throws to the sideline have also been impressive on long throws, 20-plus yards down the field. He's not going to really kill you, running the ball, but I will tell you what, he does hang. He's another one of those guys who hangs in the pocket with pressure, delivers with people in his face, and I always like that about a quarterback. It shows that grit and moxie. Talking about the next one, Mars, going to Spring Valley, Dylan Bellafleur, the senior. My love for short football players, Mars, at 5'7". I love the short guys, but this guy is dynamic and explosive. Okay, not big, but just a baller. And the ball just zips out of his hand. He has a real nice release. You don't think of a guy that's small having the kind of arm strength that he does, but he does impress me with the way he throws the ball. And, finally, the last contender, Tyler Santucci of Lakeland. Now, this kid is committed to play at D1 Sacred Heart. Again, another baller-type kid. Not a big, stocky guy, but at 6'1", solid size. And coach, when I spoke to him, he says he's one of the best players he's ever coached. That's some pretty high praise for Tyler. And he's another mobile kid. This is a kid where he moves around in the pocket. He can hurt you with his legs, but he's really trying to throw the football. That's what he's trying to make people miss, to throw the ball. And, I love his anticipation. His ball placement anticipation, I think that's the best aspect of him. And, when you watch his tape, you could see why Sacred Heart, like this kid. The winner, again, I just mentioned all these players.
If we have a drum roll, now's the time to do that.
If I named all these players, but there can only be one quarterback, and when we decided this year for Frank's finest, I'm going to go with Carlo Volpe of Pelham, Mars. And, I don't know if you have the stats brought up.
Yeah, I do.
Right? It's robust. And it's not just the stats. Like I mentioned, we have a long criteria.
Do a whole breakdown.
This is a 3-year varsity player, basketball player, 6'3", and what coach says about him, smart, respectful, loves the game, student of the game, works his absolute butt off. And my take on him, when I watch the tape, he has arguably the strongest arm in the class. Okay? He's got a cannon. And I know he's got this slingshot kind of throw. It's not the smoothest release. But I tell you what, it's not a slow release. And the ball absolutely zips out of his hands. Again, the ability and accuracy on intermediate throws and outside the hash throws is what impresses me the most about this. I think he's the most consistent with it of these quarterbacks that I mentioned. And that is kind of the winner for me, because I've seen him make college football throws, especially in the pocket. And so that's why I really like him. Mars, again, a 6'3" kid, honorable mention all Putnam County last year. But, tell us a little about the stats and what you liked.
The fact is, you kind of mentioned it earlier in the show that he is the show, right? He is the main man on offense. And you look at the stats, that's one thing. But like you said, the intangibles, the cannon of an arm, the fact that in Section 1 football, the fact that you can throw anywhere on the field is dangerous, right? He can hurt you in any spot, and you have to have perfect coverage to stop it.
Yeah.
That's the scary part about him. And the fact that he has 22 touchdowns, 1,817 yards, wow, that's impressive.
They like to throw the ball around, and he definitely delivered for us.
He has that it factor, right? That's the big thing you look for in a Frank's finest. We created this show last year, and the bottom line is requirement. You have to be an it player. You have to be that it guy, and he definitely is that at quarterback. And that's the biggest thing I noticed about him. I think his arm is the scariest thing.
Yeah. He's got the strongest arm, in my opinion, arguably in this class.
The fact the accuracy matches the arm strength is what is scary to me. The fact that he is it's a college talent for sure. You can just notice that.
He's not going to kill you, running around, but he's going to hurt you what he does with a quarterback, and that's with his arm and throwing the ball. He can hit all three levels, and that's going to be the big one. But I did do a breakdown on Carlo Volpe, and I'm going to just give the audience a brief couple minutes on why I think Carlo is a special quarterback. For this video, we're going to talk about number 13, Carlo Volpe, quarterback of Pelham Memorial High School, located right here on the screen. And this kid at 6'3", he's got good size at the quarterback position, prototypical size that you want, especially on the next level. He's long and lean, so there's room for improvement. He can obviously add some mass to his lower body. But he has good size, 22 touchdowns last year, and he really has one of the stronger arms of the quarterbacks that I've watched so far. He really has a slingshot arm. I mean, he can obviously work on a few fundamentals at the quarterback spot, but what really impresses me is his arm strength. I mean, when he cocks his arm back, when he has a good base underneath him, he really can sling it. I've seen him throw over 40-plus yard air yards multiple times, and it really helps him connect on tight window throws, especially on deep balls. He has really good placement because of that arm strength. You really see him go bombs away. And he's got some mobility to him. Now, he's not the quickest feet guy, but I tell you what, he's a glider. He got the long legs. It doesn't take him many steps to get from A to B. Let's just say that. All right, so let's go over a couple plays. All right. On this first one, we're going to focus in on the far end because he's going to roll out to his right. Okay, not a full rollout, but he's going to roll out a little bit. They're going to be running an out, okay, and pretty much a fade on the outside. Okay, he's going to connect with the fade, but watch the bombs away. Watch the arm strength here. Okay, look at the good base, nice step up, and look at this cannon. Boom, look at it, right in the bucket. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, wide receiver never has to break stride. He just really delivers it. Look at this beautiful moonshot. That's beautiful. Okay, let's go to another play. You see that often. I mean, he's connecting on a lot of deep balls. All right, let's talk about the intermediate. Okay, this is a straight drop back, so no rollout. Head is a difficult throw, but arm strength helps him deliver in tight windows. But the offense is going to run, okay? They're going to run a post on the outside and a corner on the inside. He's going to target the corner. This is going to be a very tight window. They're going to be in zone coverage here. Okay, so he's got to deliver between the flat defender and the corner. Look at this throw. That's beautiful. One more time. Okay? Got to fit it into zone coverages. You need some arm strength. You need some zip on your ball. Look at this one. Again. Boom. You can't throw it any better than that. All right, Mars, coming up now, we're going to go to the skill position players. And again, we had a tie on this. Usually we take 5. This time we have 6 winners. Okay, and unlike the quarterback, we're just actually going to go through the winners. And I have to start off with running back Casey Judelson of Harrison. This kid was 5th team All-State. And, kind of looking at the numbers, 1,200 yards, Mars, 14 touchdowns. And he's a stocky kid, not overly huge, right? 6 feet, 200 pounds, around 200 pounds, 195. And what coach says about him, Mars, a workhorse, right? He's the last one to leave the building. Really good leader. He's somebody who will give teammates rides to practices back home. And he works harder than anybody on the team. That's what coach said about him. And you can kind of see that on the tape. He's got good speed, and he's really a downhill runner. Okay, he's that lead fullback for them. He's kind of a slasher, so he makes one move and goes. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. When he hits the hole really hard, and when he gets going, he really is a load to bring down. But he shows that lateral quickness to make a guy miss in the hole. And I find that to be very important for a running back. You're going to hear me repeat that a lot. You got to make that first guy miss. And I think Casey Judelson is one of those players, Mars. Really quick, anything you have on him?
No, one thing I notice is that he's always putting the work in, and you see this constantly. And that's something that you see, that drive in a player that wants to bring him to the next level, and he brings that every single play. Absolutely. And like you said, that he has that multifaceted ability that he can burn you in several ways. He has a lot of side quickness, lateral quickness of a big stocky guy, and then like you said, once he gets going. Well,
he's
you want to get out of his way.
Yeah.
And that's the scariest thing. Obviously look at his stats, 1,200 yards, 14 TDs. That's
He's
pretty
productive.
deadly. Yeah, very
And,
very productive.
he has that speed to, get those big chunk plays, which is huge. And I also did a breakdown on Casey Jellison, and we're going to give the audience a couple minutes on why I think Casey's a special back. For this video, we're going to talk about number 49, Casey Judelson, junior running back / linebacker from Harrison. And on this video, we're going to talk more about his running back play, and there's a lot to like. He's one of the finest players in Section 1, and he's a bit of a slasher at the running back spot. And he does really good jobs on north-south run plays, down, belly, trap. And he's got a good mixture of speed and strength. He hits the hole hard. Once he gets into the open field, he has the speed to hit the home run, to get big chunk plays, but also shows strength to run through arm tackles. And he's a slippery running back. He's hard to square up. He's hard for defenders to get their body into. And we're going to go over a couple plays that exemplifies those traits. On this first play, what they're going to do is they're going to run a trap. Okay, they're going to fake the motion to the right, and the snap of the ball is going to come towards the left. Now we're going to have a down block, this guy up to the linebacker, and a trap right here. And what you want to see from running back and trap is that he hugs the center, especially when A-gap trap. He hugs the center as long as possible and leans into the hole. And he does a really fine job of that, so watch him. He's going to hug the center and lean into the hole last second. It sets up the play really nicely. One more time. Look at that. And now here's that slippery runner. He makes the guy miss, and then the speed to hit the home run. That's a great job. Let's go to another play. Right? On this play, they're going to run a bit of a belly op. Motion to the right. They're going to reverse pivot, hand it off tackle. They're going to fake the option to the right, and the lead blocker is going to be this wing back. Look at that. Now, clearly there was some miscommunication because a play side linebacker is unblocked. And as a good running back, sometimes you got to make that guy miss. And this is, again, speed and strength. Slippery running back. He's going to make the guy miss and finish the run. Watch this. That's awesome. One more time. Look at this. That's great stuff right there. I can't wait to see how he progresses into next year. All right, Mars, next winner, running back and wide receiver, Keith Boyer of Yorktown. And, we go from kids who had 1,200 yards, but stats is not always the big thing to me. But this kid did have 11 touchdowns the previous season. And for me, I think he's arguably the most explosive player in this section. All right? Most explosive player in this section, Mars. When he gets north and south, he's a home run hitter. Right? He can go from, first gear to sixth gear very quickly. Okay? And once he gets in that open field, like I mentioned, not a lot of guys are going to catch him. I do like his versatility is another big thing for me. And this kid has the versatility to line up in the backfield, line up in the slot, line up out wide. They can throw to him. They can run jet sweep with him. So this kid has a lot of versatility to him. Not the biggest guy, but again, he is a scary football player in space. And I think he's one of the most dangerous guys in Class 1A, and that's why I chose Keith Boyer.
The fact is, and you say versatile, that's such a deadly thing to see in Class 1A. I mean, at the end of the day, as we mentioned at the beginning, this class is loaded with talent. And the fact that you can kill you in many different ways, that's a very dangerous thing. And as you mentioned, he's probably the most explosive player in Class 1A. And if you miss him, he's gone. Yeah. That's a scary thing to go up against. As experienced coaches, we know that's the key player you always match up on. You say, we can't let him out of our sight.
You really got to rally with this kid. The next winner, Mars, at wide receiver, Andrew Tarpey of Tappan Zee. He was second team All-Rockland County as a football player. And he had about 9 touchdowns, 44 receptions, I believe it was. When I spoke to Coach about him, right, fierce competitor, disciplined route runner with deceptive speed and great hands. And I tell you what, he's also a 3-sport athlete, football, basketball, baseball. And the most thing that struck me when I spoke to Coach, and you really do see this on his tape, Mars, he makes big plays in big moments. Okay, he's clutch. And that's a great thing as a football player. You need that go-to receiver. And this kid is, again, he's not a tall guy, right, at 5'11", but he is the best route runner in the class. You watch him on tape, he's very detail-oriented in his routes. I love that about wide receivers. He's got real solid speed, not enough to just blow the roof off on you. But he kind of, I don't want to make this cliche, it's like a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman type player, and he can line up in multiple spots. He can line up as the X. He can line up as the Y. He can also line up in the slot as the Y in the slot. He also can line up as a Z. So, this kid brings that versatility, really solid hands, and he's just reliable. He's just a really reliable player that you go to in big moments, and he makes some good plays. He makes some really good catches. He knows how to work his body towards the sideline. He's really a polished wide receiver, and it's a credit to not just him, but the coaching staff there on how to teach this kid at the wide receiver spot.
Like you mentioned, just looking at some of the stats here, 44 receptions, 620 yards, receiving 9 touchdowns. He's the it player you mentioned. I mentioned before. Like, he's one of those players that when you need a big play to happen, he's going to be that guy that does it for you. And that's like the biggest thing. And the other thing you mentioned was versatility, right? I always love to see players that are versatile, that can play in all different types of spots, especially when you need them most. And as you kind of mentioned, he's disciplined. His route running is fantastic. That's hard to find in an average football player, but that's why he's not average. He's a Frank's finest.
Yes. And another wide receiver winner, Dylan Nelson of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow runs this spread game where the quarterback's throwing it around, but their number one target, their most dangerous target, in my opinion, Dylan Nelson. Again, not a big kid, but at 6'1", solid height, right? You can definitely put on some muscle. And when I spoke to Coach about him, he says he's one of the smartest kids he's ever coached. Okay, he stays after meetings and talks X's and O's with Coach, and you could see that with him because he's another kid who, although he's not the fastest guy, he wins with good route running. Another good route runner, right? He wins with good route running. He's got real solid hands, and he's got really good body control. Okay, he makes what I love to call contested catches. Okay, that's when a guy's draped on you or it's a difficult 50-50 ball. This guy usually comes down with it. He's another guy who's versatile. I've seen him line up as a Z, as an X. I've seen him line up as a tight end. Versatile football player. You hear me repeat that. These are my favorite kind of players. And he's the kind of guy who dictates the defense, right? They're going to have to dictate coverage to this kind of football player because he is that reliable guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When you look at players and you say, if the defense has got to change their entire coverage to match this guy, that's pretty scary. Yep. I mean, in high school football, that's very scary.
They got to lean towards his side.
Yeah, and the fact is, like you keep mentioning versatility. I mean, that's a big factor in a lot of our choices here. That all these players can do multiple things, and that's impressive to say the least. And on top of that, he's a football. I know it's kind of funny in a football sport we're calling these guys football guys, but that means somebody that's going to go beyond the game, read, understand all the different types of things that he would need to do in order to make the team better. And that's something that's very impressive for a guy. 36 receptions, 587 yards, 7 TDs. I mean, he's just another it factor type of player.
Now, he did tie with the next winner, and that is at the tight end spot, who I believe is naturally superior talent. Okay, Andrew Rapolleja of Our Lady of Lourdes High School at the tight end spot at 6'4", 215 pounds. This kid runs a 4.8 at that size, and I believe he is a very well-rounded tight end. Okay, when you get a tight end, usually it's just big receivers, right, that they want to match up in a certain. But this guy is what you would call that tight end because, number one, he can block. He's a really good blocker. He's like an added offensive lineman at the high school level. He can drive defensive ends. He can block linebackers. This guy, once he gets his hands on you and drives his feet, he can really move the point of attack. And that's very important in a tight end, and this kid has that. But he also is a weapon. Okay, they can line him out wide. He can run routes in line as the tight end spot, Mars. He's got really solid hands, right? And although he can refine his route running, again, you're talking about a young guy. He's class of 23. He's going to be reclassifying at the end of the year. So technically he's a sophomore, right? So you're talking about a young football player who made big-time plays as an underclassman at this level, which is not easy to do. And that's why I believe this kid, not just as a potential, but when you watch the tape, he's another kid who really stands out. There's not huge stats that he has, but this kid really stands out as a football player, and that's why he's one of the winners.
Fact is, sky's the limit. When you're a young player and you already show all these skills that you have, and I think the most impressive thing is finding a tight end that can do both catching, blocking, and just be anywhere on the field. Yeah. I think that's the best part about him. And that's what I like. I mean, listen, I'm a lineman guy, and with the fact that you can be a receiving type of player and block, that means you're on my good side. And that's the best part about him and why I think he is going to really establish himself as a top-tier player in this league, really for years to come.
Yeah, and he's actually, I believe, transferring, but I don't know if that's going to be official. But recognize him regardless of that. Finally, to round it out, Mars, how could we forget about this next guy? You know, my favorite running back in the class, Jack Kaiser of Somers High School, third team All-State. Again, this kid had 15 touchdowns last year, Mars, over 1,000 yards rushing. And I'll say this again, I think he's the best back in the class. I love his ability to run through contact. That's my favorite part about him. Downhill running back in that wing T fullback offense. You can't run a wing T offense without a stud fullback or being a major part of it. And I very rarely see him get tackled for a loss. And I also very rarely see him get tackled by the first defender.
Yeah.
That's, to me, is a huge indicator of a good back. I know he's not the fastest guy, but he's fast enough to make big chunk plays and score those long touchdowns. He has that ability. But his bread and butter is running through contact, getting those 4 to 5 yards every time he touches the ball, which is a chain mover. And it eventually just wears down a defense. But he also shows the ability to catch the football. I know it doesn't show a lot in the wing T offense, but he does show that he can catch the football and he can block, which are attributes. You know, he's a well-rounded football player. So, you know, that's that Jack Kaiser. It was an easy one.
Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen this kid just grow right before our eyes. Yep. And we saw him really burst on the scene running dudes over. Right? Yep. Now, granted,
as a sophomore.
Yeah, as a sophomore. And the fact is, he can run past you, but I think he'd rather much just run you over. Yeah. I mean, that's the best part about him, is that he has that gritty, old school toughness to him that, you know, he's going to get that first down for you. Yes. And he will not allow the first defender to take him down. Yeah, I've never once seen it where the one person takes him down. It has got to be a gang tackle to bring this dude down. It's going to take more than just two. I've noticed it's got to be, he's carrying dudes at times. Yeah. And like you said, I mean, the stats are just one thing. Like, I mean, this is just deadly. More than 1,000 yards rushing, 15 touchdowns. That's just insane. Yeah. But the most impressive thing I've noticed is that seeing Somers almost adapt their scheme to this guy.
Wing T. They run that forever, and they found the right guy to be that lead man. Yeah. At the fullback spot. And he's really.
I'll say it one more time. He's an it player. Yeah. He's that guy. Absolutely. I keep mentioning that line, but he is. In my opinion, I mean, I agree with you completely. Probably best back in Class A.
Now we also did an interview with Jack Kaiser, and we talked some football with him. So we'll have the audience now see my interview with Jack. Welcome back, everyone. Joining us now, I want to welcome Jack Kaiser, running back and linebacker from Somers High School. Welcome to the show, Jack. We really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited for this.
Absolutely. And, you know, it was a very doom and gloom over the last few months thinking football was not going to happen. But we got great news recently that we are planning to have football and have football in March. You know, my father was a coach for a long period of time in Section 1, and he always used to ask the kids, why do you play football? Mm-hmm. And normally we would think of injuries as something that you can't control, and that would take away your season. But now COVID was right around the corner that almost took away the season for everybody. So I wanted to ask you, because I want to hear, you know, there is no right answer, but it gives a mindset of why do you play football? You know, and what makes football important to you? So I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah. I mean, I play football because it is the most fun I ever had my entire life. I mean, I'm going out there with my friends, battling against enemies, and we're just trying to win a game. I mean, it's just, I'm a competitive kid, so I love doing that. I love, like, trying to win, so that's fun.
When did you start playing football?
In the 4th grade.
Okay, so you've been playing a long time.
Yeah.
You know, for the longest period of time, Somers High School is a well-known program, and it's a big program in Class A. And they run a wing T offense. And I don't know if you know, but wing T offense was invented in 1950 in Maine. So it's been around a long time. And there's different iterations of wing T football. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that we always know in wing T football to be an explosive wing T offense is they have to have a stud fullback. And you play that stud fullback role, but you came in as a sophomore playing on Somers High School, which is a big program, not easy to do. Mm-hmm. What is kind of your mindset as a football player, you know, getting that mantle as a sophomore to try to lead this wing T offense?
Yeah, well, sophomore year I came in, not expecting too much, but just giving my hardest and working. I mean, just trying to compete against the other kids. And, yeah, I mean, it felt great to start leading the team, but just try to stay humble and keep working. I mean, you can never get you can never be good enough. That's why.
Yeah. We hear a lot of different stories and backgrounds from people, from players all over the section and all over New York. But I just wanted to ask you, what motivates you? Is there a person or a figure that motivates you to be the type of player or the type of person that you are today?
Well, one idol of mine is Saquon Barkley. I mean, he is everything. I mean, he's a great runner. He's powerful. He's explosive. He's a great receiving back. I mean, I try to put my game around that. I mean, as close as I can, obviously. Yeah. But he's definitely one person that motivates me, and obviously my family motivates me, pushes me to never give up and just keep working. But those are the people who motivate me.
Now I'm on social media. I see a bunch of the kids posting their workouts and stuff like that, and I know that you're a hard worker from everything that I've seen and heard. But there is no perfect prospect. There's no perfect player. So what did you work on this off season to try to improve yourself as a player and as a leader for the program?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I've been trying to work on, and I still am, is getting my speed up and explosiveness. I mean, I know I'm a powerful kid, and the one thing that's not lacking, but definitely I can always improve on, is my speed. I mean, always be able to have breakout plays and everything. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to work on.
I not only like just talking football, but I like talking outside of football. What are some of your aspirations that you have outside of the sport? Because, the sport is really important. I was a huge football guy, still am a huge football guy, but, there is another life. So can you share with some of the aspirations that you have outside of the sport that you could share with me?
Yeah, no, one thing I'm very infatuated about is stocks. So
yeah,
I've been getting all that hype with GameStop and AMC.
I was going to ask, are you on the GameStop and AMC stocks?
Yeah, so I've been into that stuff. So that's definitely one big aspiration of mine. I mean, I do love playing video games, relax myself. Yeah. But, those are definitely two things I do outside of football.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I didn't just bring you on just to talk as an interview, but I wanted to show some football clips. All right. So
great.
I'm going to let me just pull up the screen real quick. I love talking football, but the most important thing, there's stats, there's analytics, and there's the eye in the sky. Right. And the eye in the sky is the tape, and the tape's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And do you remember this play? I'll just start playing it for you at the first time. You remember this play? Against Tappan Zee?
Yeah, I do.
Real nice long run. Look at you go right here.
Yeah.
Running through people. Almost feels like you're playing people that are 2 or 3 years younger than you.
Yeah. And
so I want to ask you, okay? This is 11 personnel, 11 wing with a slot. This is a famous wing T offensive formation. Can you tell us what the play call is on this and kind of what your read is and where you're supposed to be attacking?
So this is some sort of a 24 trap here. So I'm bringing this ball back, and then I have to cut it up the field. So I'm reading off my center here. So if he goes up and he picks up that middle linebacker, then I should be able to cut off of him.
Yep.
So, yeah, so I basically cut it off that, and then I basically just do whatever. I just have to run up the field, make some people miss, run some people over, break some tackles, and that's pretty much it.
So Coach has you attacking the left leg of the center. Are you reading that A gap? Are you reading, that block on that middle linebacker like you said?
Yeah, I'm pretty much, if it's an odd front, then I'm bending early here. But if it's an even, then I'm going up a little bit and bending off that. So I think that's an even. So I got a longer track here. So I got to as a middle linebacker here.
But that's a great point on that odd and even front. Now, this is what I always find to be good about running backs. First off, I love your stance. Right? It's a stance that's leaning forward, and that's really important. The second most important thing in all good running backs is coaches spend a lot of time designing plays. They got everyone blocked up except for maybe the safety.
Yeah.
But most of the time, things don't go the way things are planned, right? And a defense is out there trying to play. So a great running back always has that ability most of the time to break initial contact, arm tackles, make the first guy miss in the hole, which is what I really like. And we're going to go over this play because Coach has this, like you said, 24 trap with the motion coming left. Okay? But there's a problem. I believe this man's supposed to be trapped, correct?
Yes.
Right? So there's an unblocked defender. But this is what I love watching about you because you mentioned you're a strong kid. You got to be able to make a play
when things break down. And this is what I really like. Who taught you how to run through contact? Do you practice that? Is it just a mindset for you?
It's just instinct. I haven't really been taught that. I mean, we do some drills, but it's not something that.
I mean, who teach you to do it? Like you're just running through bodies right here. But I got to ask you something. This is the part that I got to ask. Okay. You have all this green grass to the left of you right here, right? Do you have like a quota you have to meet of how many broken tackles in a game you get? It looks like you're waiting for someone to come hit you. So Tom, do you have something like that? Do you make a bet with your teammates or anything like that?
No. I'm slowing down here because my mindset, and I don't know if it would happen, but I'm thinking that that guy up there is gonna cut me off, and then I can't get down the sideline. So I'm waiting for my split end right there to get a nice block for me to set up. So
hey, listen, I like it. I tell you what, I really like it. Let's go to another play. All right, and we've got an end over left, motion going left. And you're going to be running. Do you remember this one against Yorktown? A fullback dive right up the gut.
Yeah, and this is my sophomore year.
Yep.
I remember this.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
This is a sophomore. You're playing seniors right now.
Yeah.
Seniors and juniors. You just ran through the guy. Right? So, again, what's the play call on this one?
I think this is 24 dive double. Or
right?
This is usually another 24. There's so many different little things we have that are just the blocking for the linemen. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, but it's usually just 24, 26.
So the big difference that I see is when you had the previous play of a 24 trap, you have that guard pulling down the line, trapping somebody. This time, the guard is kind of going to go swing around that center and go up to the linebacker, right? And you're going to have this tackle come down to that linebacker as well, right? So it's a little bit of a different, not so much of a pull, or a straight line pull. It's kind of just weaving around the block of that center to get to the next level, correct?
Yeah.
Are you reading anything different from this than you did on the trap? You mentioned that you're going to hug the center's leg on the trap for a dive. What is your mindset and what are you reading?
This is very similar. I'm supposed to take this up and then cut off that tackle block that's supposed to cut off that linebacker and then cut it back up the field. So it's very similar. A lot of very similar runs we do.
This is, again, what I really like about you. Look at your pad level here. You can see that your head is below all these big boys, and you're about to meet a linebacker in the hole. This is about a 2-yard gain because the tackle couldn't get there fast enough. So, again, I really love, and this is something for young players that are watching, to lower your pad level without ducking your head. You can see the bend in your knees, bend in your hips. Are you sure no one's taught you this? You just go on instinct with this?
So, yeah, usually. I mean, this just kind of happens too quick for me to think. So,
do you get a sense of jolt, a sense of, like a jolt of energy when you break tackles like this?
yeah, I get some adrenaline rush, but I'm not thinking in this. I'm just thinking run.
You're just going, right?
Don't be slow, yeah.
Absolutely, but after the play, you're like, man, I really wrecked that kid.
Yeah. I mean, I usually think all these games are business, so I don't really celebrate too much until the end of the game. So that's just kind of my mindset. It's not done until the game's over.
That's great to hear. Let's go over. I just want another play here. We got 11 personnel, wing with a slot, and you're going to get motion towards the slot. And again, similar concepts, right? But a different play. Do you remember this play?
This looks like slant. This looks like 28 slant.
Right?
27 slant. This is 27 slant.
Right, so 27 slant. And I know, coach designs this motion because they're trying to get this outside linebacker to get out of the picture, right? And because of this reverse pivot, we used to call this belly, right? This is a kind of a belly play where this slot is actually going to be your lead blocker, correct? And now, is this a similar mindset? Are you attacking a gap or attacking a space on this 27 slant? Are you attacking the 7-hole? That's the mindset?
Yeah, the 7-hole. I'm running right down the 7-hole because this is very close to the goal line, so we wouldn't run 28 here. They don't want me to get outside and try to do anything like that, so they just want me running downhill, north and south here. And
this is your bread and butter. I mean, you getting close to the goal line, lowering your pad level, running through contact. Again, when I see this, I got to tell you, this is pretty well blocked.
Yeah.
Right? This is pretty well blocked for you. Except this defensive guy is starting to disengage right here. And again, this is what I really like about you. And I think this is what makes you one of the more impressive football players that I watch, your ability to run through contact. So I really like that you do this. And again, this is just another example right here. Now, I do got to say, when you get to the next level, right? And your goal is to play at the next level, correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Gotta get lower there. Stand up to it.
Right? You see his helmet? It's right in your chest plate. When they get bigger and more athletic, you don't want to open yourself up to hits like that, right?
Yeah.
Now you show that strength. You obviously have that strength. This guy bounces right off you. You better wrap somebody like you.
Mhm.
But when they get bigger and they get more athletic, that's going to be a big shot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's something I've been working on. I've been trying to get a little lower going through it. Sometimes I do stand up, but yeah.
No, that's good. Now you mentioned that you were trying to work on your speed.
Mhm.
Everyone I asked in the area about Jack Kaiser, whether it's scouts, coaches, they love the strength. They love the abilities that you have to run through contact. But you mentioned improving your speed. And that's what everyone not so much questions, but asks.
Mhm.
What about Jack Kaiser's speed, his ability to hit big plays? But what I'd say is this: I bring up this clip because to me, shows that you have that ability.
Mhm.
You have that ability. Now, what you worked on, that's great. I'd love to know, maybe even off camera, what you did to improve your speed. But this is what kind of shows me evidence that you have that in you. Do you remember this play? I believe it's your sophomore year against Brewster.
Yeah.
Right? Look at this. You get shot right out of a cannon right there. Right? That looked like some speed. Now, at the end, I see you pulling up a little bit. But at the beginning, you shot through that hole like a cannon. Do you remember what play this is?
This is dive double. I know for a fact. I remember this play. 27.
Okay. Dive. And right, you're going to get that slot kind of leading underneath the tackle's block again, right, to the next level.
Mhm.
And again, got to give kudos to that offensive line.
Yeah, this is
To the running backs. Look at this hole right here.
yeah.
But somebody's got to run through it, right? Look at that crease. Someone's got to run through it. And they mention your speed, but I tell you what, watch you explode through this hole right here. This is good. This is really nice.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times I'm not able to show my speed with some of the plays you run because it's more of a ground and pound offense. But
absolutely. The final play I wanted to talk to, and I'm glad I watched your tape, and I'm glad that you didn't just put all the big run plays that you had. Obviously, you made some plays on defense, but you also showed you catching the football and you blocking, which I find to be refreshing because a lot of players don't seem to find that to be important attributes. Now, if I have any advice for your upcoming season to add to your tape, I know in the wing T offense you don't normally do this because coach wants to get you the ball as much as possible. But if you have any opportunities of you pass blocking for your quarterback, that would be something great to add to your tape.
Yeah, we're adding a lot of stuff in this season, so I'm excited I'll be able to do that and be able to show that off.
Absolutely. But I do love that you did this play and you added that you were blocking. And I'm going to go over this one real quick. I mean, this is you stealing the edge and then blocking the outside defender. Now, I got to ask you, when coach designed this play, did he have you blocking two guys?
No, no, I'm not supposed to block two guys.
Now, who are you supposed to block?
I'm supposed to block that outside guy, but I saw that guy in the inside coming off a little bit, and I know you're supposed to block from the inside out, so I tried to help my boy Charlie a little bit and just at least get one hand on him and then get on the outside guy because I knew I had a little time.
Absolutely. You did your lineman a favor as you tried to get around. I mean, this is an end over left, right? End over left. They're motioning to the left, and they're sweeping back right. Right? So this is a great play. You have your lineman trying to get over the pile, but you do a great job sealing the edge right there. And then I love how you engage and drive your feet on the outside, and this is a home run. Right? That's great stuff. That's great stuff right there. Are you looking to play running back at the next level? Or are you looking to play linebacker?
I mean, I'm just trying to play at the next level. I mean, I love football, so I'll play running back. I'll play defense. Doesn't matter, Coach. I'll do whatever.
I love that. I love that answer. I think that's a great answer. But again, we want to thank Jack Kaiser for joining the show. Again, congratulations. You are one of Frank's finest. And, we really look forward to not just speaking to you in the future, but watching you play football out on the football field.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me on this.
All right, that's Jack Kaiser, everybody.
All right, Mars. Now we're moving to the offensive linemen, your guys.
Yeah.
Your dudes. Right? And you can't really have a good team without winning the battle in the trenches up front. And for the winners on the offensive line, Mars, let's start with Adam Len, the offensive lineman of Clarkstown North. This kid was first team all Rockland County. And I think he's one of the more athletic interior linemen. Not an over, tall, big guy, but I tell you, he comes with some pop. He's got really good feet for pulling and trapping in that wing T style offense that Clarkstown North runs. But he really brings grit and toughness to him when he blocks. Okay? He knows how to move his feet. He can block at the second level. I love the athleticism at the guard spot that he plays. And you got to be able to pull in that kind of offense. Marsh got to be able to trap, got to be able to sweep pull. This kid does that to a T. He's one of the better ones in the class, and that's why he's the first Frank's finest.
I think that one of the most important things about an offensive lineman is having great feet. And once you get that hit, if you can see the defender have that jolt, it means that this guy's got some pop to him, and that's definitely what Adam has. I mean, seeing him do a trap block is like magic, and it's just pure magic.
Gets his head inside, and it's not like he doesn't just blow guys down. But what he does is he really gets just the job done. Right?
Yeah,
he gets his head inside, he seals them
and
off.
what I like to call a technician. That's the most important aspect of being a lineman. Like you said, stature is not like the most grandest thing of them all, but he has the pop and he's got the technique to really master that position.
Yep. Next one, Mars, Jake Polito, the sophomore from Somers High School. This kid is 6'3", 270 pounds, Mars, and we know Somers High School is a big program. This kid was playing on the varsity level and starting as a freshman. So it's really difficult to do. And when you put on the tape, you could see why. He, I think, has the potential to become the best offensive lineman in the class by the time the season ends. That's what I think of this kind of guy. And it starts with the nastiness that he has on him. He wants to rip your head off when he blocks you. You can see the way he finishes. He really tries to bury the defender, which we both like the nastiness on the offensive line. But he comes with athleticism. Right, for a young guy, his feet is solid, and he has the athleticism to make all the blocks. So that's whether it's down blocking, pulling, trapping, blocking at the next level. This kid has that ability, and you've seen it when you watch the tape. Once he gets his hands locked in you, he knows how to move the point of attack. So that's the biggest thing. Consistency with him, right? If he gets more consistent, that's why I believe he has the potential to be the best offensive lineman in the class. Because you see those signs numerous times on tape. It's just now, can he wrap it all together? Because once he gets his hands, like I mentioned, he really drives people. And he can put a hurting on you.
Biggest thing I noticed, and you said the consistency, and it has to come do with age. I think as he gets older and as he gets more experience. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, with the whole COVID thing kind of screwing a lot of the off season, he's going to grow throughout the season. And like you mentioned, I think by the end of the season, he can grow to become the best offensive lineman in Class A. And you kind of mentioned a lot of the things I have here. The fact that he has that nastiness to him that really makes him a player you don't want to line up in front of. And I think that's the best part of being a lineman in general, is being able to put someone in the dirt, get back up, and then do it again. Yep. And I think that's what he's looking to do every time he lines up. And the versatility is just impressive for such a young kid.
Oh, young football player, yeah.
And a program like Somers starting at a young age, that's impressive by itself.
It absolutely is. The next winner, and this one wasn't too difficult either, offensive lineman Franco Milano of Brewster. And now this kid, probably the best two-way lineman in Class A at this very moment. For me, I always like to choose a kid at a certain spot, his best spot. But a lot of these kids are good two-way players, right? But if it's close with somebody else, if you were selected on one position and on the other position you're close with somebody else, I tend to give it to the other kid. If I name you in two positions, it just means how special I think you are. And I'm going to give a little bit of a teaser. This isn't going to be the last time you hear Franco Milano's name, but let's start on the offensive side, Mars. At 6'3", 250 pounds, he is a devastating down blocker. Okay, when he down blocks on dudes, especially inside his gap or a gap down, he knows how to blow the line down. He knows how to, pretty much seal the edge, and really move people. And it starts with his powerful punch, right? He has that boxer's type punch, that haymaker, that when he gives that, you see that defender that you were talking about earlier, get a jolt back. And then he has those kind of hands. And this one wasn't too difficult. He's one of the offensive linemen for this group.
The fact is, I mean, listen, you're critical of players here. And the fact that he's on a two-tiered list, these two positions on this list is already by itself special. Right? Yeah. And on top of that, one thing I love to see is, I mean, I played in all different positions in high school, but the most enjoyable one was when you get to down block the entire offensive line, and he does that on a daily basis.
Defense,
he is a down blocking machine.
Yes.
And he's just one of those guys that once you see him in front of you, you're like, well, I got to get out of the way.
It's going to be a tough day.
Yeah, this is going to be a bad day for me. And that's something that I find very rare, but when I do see it, it's special.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Moving into the interior, the center spot, Mars, very well, is really difficult to pick. You're really the captain of the defense. I'm going with James Calabro of Eastchester. That's who I chose as the center spot. And coach, when I spoke to the assistant coach over at Eastchester, he considered him the cornerstone of the offensive line, especially at center. And when you are the center, you really are a captain of the offensive line. And this kid has a really strong base, and another kid with a very solid punch. Okay, he's another guy who can jolt defenders with his punch, his initial contact. And I think he does a really solid job of turning defenders. It doesn't always have to be you blow him 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. But what can you do? You swing your hips into the hole. You move the defender out of where the offense is running. And I think this kid does a good job of that. And I think his consistency at that is why I think he made this list. He also has some nastiness to him. Like if he knocks you down, he's gonna pile on you. So he's another guy who brings that nastiness at the center spot, and I think he's one of Frank's finest offensive linemen.
First off, as a fellow center, I can only applaud you. Right, the fact is, as a center, it's one of the most difficult. It's probably the most difficult offensive lineman position in football. And the reality is, like you said, you have to be a captain, you have to be a leader, and he proves that in spades. The fact is, you don't have to blow up people on the line of scrimmage, but he does have that haymaker punch. And on top of that, he's really just a technician. As you mentioned, he kind of gets into the right positions. He throws his hips when he needs to. He secures the block. He makes sure that everyone else does exactly the same thing as well. And I can only, like I said, I can only applaud you being a fellow center myself.
Yep. Finally, we'll round it out with what I believe is the top interior offensive lineman of this class, Mars. Matt Furrer of John Jay Cross River. And I apologize if I screw up your name. I'm terrible with names, so don't get offended by it. But I think Matt is the best interior offensive lineman from John Jay Cross River. He was honorable mention, all Putnam County. And this kid was a 3-year starter at 6'1", 235. Another not a huge guy. But when I spoke to Coach, he tells me he's got a calm demeanor. He's passionate, another leader out there. And when you watch him, he may have a calm demeanor, but I tell you what, he knows how to block, man. He has probably the best feet of the linemen that we talked about, Mars. And it really helps him. Make all the blocks, right? I mean, he could pull, he could trap, he could do sweep pulls, and he also shows the power to do zone blocking and to actually move bodies on the interior. So he's not just an athletic guard, right? He has that, well-rounded features that he can move you out of the way, or he can move, get to the second level, trap, and sometimes he really knows how to bury people on traps. If you watch him, he's got some pop to him. And I think this kid is the top interior offensive lineman in the class.
Well, being a top interior guard, top interior offensive lineman, you have to be able to do all those different things you mentioned. You have to have good feet. You have to be able to get the second level. You have to be able to knock your opponent away from the ball carrier on whether it's sweep pulls or trap pulls. But the best part about him, very similar to how I played, was you got to play angry. Right, and he's, like Coach said, he's very calm demeanor. But when you get on the field, that switch turns. Yeah, he doesn't look too calm.
He doesn't block calm.
No, that's the best part about it, because he looks like a calm kid, nice kid. All of a sudden, bang, you're on the floor.
Absolutely. And I also did a breakdown on Matt, and now we'll show the audience on why I think Matt is a special player. For this video, we're going to talk about number 53, Matt Furrer, offensive guard and defensive tackle for John Jay Cross River. He's located right here on the screen. This kid listed at 6'1", 240 pounds. a lean lineman. Not the biggest guy. It's not a 290 pounder, but I tell you what, he's very explosive. Okay, on both sides of the ball. On the first part, we're going to focus on the offensive end, which he has a really good stance and a really good quick first step. All right, he explodes out of his stance really well. He also has really good feet. He's really smooth when he pulls, whether it's a counter or trap. And you can see this kid being very successful in zone. He's not the biggest guy, but I tell you could see the bulk in his legs and the strength in his legs. And he can really, move people off the ball in zone concepts. And when he's pulling, again, he's really smooth and he looks like he's gliding. But once he gets there, he delivers a punch. On the defensive end, he's a really good penetrating defensive tackle. You can see him performing well in the 3 technique. It's because he uses his hands really well and he has that explosive first step. But let's focus in on the offensive end, okay? He's located right here. Right? We're going to show his ability to pull. Okay, you're going to see some down blocks. He's going to come down the line of scrimmage and kick out the edge defender. And watch the power. Okay, watch him lower his pad level. Look how smooth he is. And there's the power right there. One more time. Okay. Look how quick he is out of the stance. And there's the power. And you see this often. Okay, let's go to another play. He's located right here. Again, not a massive human being. Right at 240 pounds, but you're going to see man-to-man blocking right here. This guy, this defender, right in his gap, okay? So he's going to have to block him and push him out of the hole. You're going to see his strength. You're going to see his leverage. Let's watch him. All right? Very good job. Again, he's got strong legs. You can see the bulk in his legs. That's a good job right there. One more time. This is important. Linemen are going to be put on an island. You got to be able to block. You got to be able to move guys off the line of scrimmage. That's a good job.
All right, Mars. Finally, we're going to the defense, and a little bit different than what we did on the other positions, where we split out the skill guys, the quarterback, and the defensive lineman. We're actually going to do the front 7, okay, or in this case, the front 8, because we have a tie at the linebacker's spot. But let's just start with all of them. And first coming up, one of the defensive linemen, Michael Spiegel of Clarkstown South, the senior. Second team All-Rockland County. This kid had 6'3", 265, 270 pounds, Mars. Another 3-year player. And I think he is a good all-around lineman, defensive lineman. He can line up over the guard, over the center, or over the tackle. And that brings up that word, Mars, versatility, which I love. I think he's one of the better linemen at using his hands to disengage blockers. Sometimes he does stand up a little bit, which I think is really the only biggest flaw that I see from him that can be fixed. But I tell you, this kid shows serious power. He doesn't get moved off his spot very often. And as an interior defensive lineman, I think he shows the best pass rushing ability of all the guys that I watched. He's just a baller. He's very disruptive in both the run and pass game. And just an all-around defensive tackle that can line up in multiple spots, Mars. We know we both love that.
Oh, of course. I mean, I'll jump on the same train. Versatility. I mean, that the fact that he can line up on any lineman and do well is very impressive. And as you said, his best quality is his pass rushing ability, and he uses his feet very well. His hands. I like to call a defensive lineman like a ninja. You got to be able to kind of divert everything away from your interior. And he does all that in spades, and I think that's what makes him the most impressive is he has the power, he's got the quickness that he can blow right past offensive linemen, right to the quarterback.
Yeah. Now we go to the edge, Mars. On the edge, you can call him defensive end, you can call him outside linebacker. I call him an edge defender, and that's TJ Deegan of Somers High School. This kid, another not a tall guy at 6 feet, 195 pounds. He had 9.5 sacks last year, Mars, and 47 tackles. This kid was very disruptive rushing the passer. And you could tell it's because of his athleticism. He's an athletic pass rusher who uses his hands, his speed, and he knows how to bend around the corner. He knows how to get what we call get skinny through the hole.
Yep.
And that's a good attribute to have as a football player. He also has that speed I mentioned. Like if you try to run sweep at him, it's really difficult to block him inside or seal him off because he has that speed. And I also believe he has the athleticism, which you didn't see too often, to drop into coverage. Right, so he can drop into zone coverage. I believe he has the speed and the footwork to play some man too. Even though a lot of the times they wanted him rushing the quarterback because of his pass rushing ability. But I think he has all those attributes
to do a bunch of different things. And he's one of my winners on the defense, especially in the front seven.
Yeah, 9.5 sacks. I mean, I'll keep using the word versatility, right? He can, like you said, he has all these other things that he can do that he really hasn't shown him much of. And the fact that he's quick enough, he's fast enough that he can get into coverage if he wants to. But like you said, why change what he does best, which is get after the quarterback? And, like you said, he has that quickness, that bendability that he can get around tackles and make the play, right?
Yeah.
That's the best part about being an edge, that your job is to make sure nothing gets outside of you, and you really can't get outside of him.
Yeah, he's got that speed. Going now next is linebacker. I got to go Ashawn Duncan of Spring Valley. This kid was first team All Rockland County last year at 6'1", 170 pounds, right? Thin guy, 80 tackles, right? 80 tackles for a guy not that big, but coach, when I spoke to Coach about him, he raves about him. I mean, he knew him since he was 8 years old, Mars. The kid has a real love for the game, and he has a nose for the football, and that's what Coach said. He's absolutely right when you watch the tape. He really has a nose for the football, and he's actually, Coach said this, which is very interesting. He's really just now starting to learn the game. So he was making all these plays, and he didn't really, know, or I don't want to say no, but he's still learning the scheme, the process, and stuff like that. My take on him is he is a fantastic blitzer. If you watch Spring Valley football, Spring Valley defense, they like to send people, they like to blitz often, and he's one of their better guys at doing it. He knows how to time the blitz, get penetration. He's got really good speed and range, which I like about him. Right, the range and the speed. He can beat linemen to the hole on blitzes, and he can also plays on the outside. He can chase down. And I mentioned about 170 pounds. Now, he might have grown, but that's what he was listed as. When he squares you up, he can really thump you. Right, he's a kid who can really hit you, and you see that on tape as well. I also believe he has the athleticism to get in coverage, but again, they don't ask a lot of it because they like to blitz. They like to send linebackers, but I think he has the athleticism, and he's my first linebacker off the board.
The fact is, you kind of mentioned a lot of things here, but 170 pounds doesn't look like he can lay a hit, but boy, does he do that. Yeah. He has a lot of power in his core, and the best part about him, part of any linebacker, is he has the ability to find the ball, right? And especially when you love to send him on a blitz, he needs to make the play, and it seems like he always does.
Yeah.
Right, and that's the consistency. To have him do that is a crucial part of being a successful defense, and he's a major cog in that defense, and that's all you could do is applaud him for that.
Absolutely. Sticking with the linebackers, and there's another inside-outside linebacker player, and that's Ryan Brennan of John J. Cross River, the senior. Honorable mention all Putnam County. When I spoke to Coach about him, great kid off the field, 3-sport athlete. And when I watch him on tape, I think he's one of the more well-rounded linebackers, inside or out. He's tall, he's long, and he's a smooth athlete. Okay? Those three things I love about a football player, right? So, Again, I love his ability to float to the football. As a linebacker, you got to be able to make quick decisions. You got to be able to take good angles to the ball, and that's what's called flowing to the football, and he does that, okay, with very few wasted steps, and that's what's really important, okay? I also really like his range. Okay, he has the speed to go sideline to sideline. He's one of those linebackers, those will-type linebackers who can run all over the place. And he can make plays on those outside runs. I think he's well-rounded. I think he shows the ability to be in coverage. I also seen him blitz a couple times and get to the quarterback. So, this is one of those well-rounded football players. Versatility, Mars. He's one of those kids. He can play inside, outside linebacker, and that's why all those things I mentioned, plus that versatility of being able to do multiple things, he's on the list.
You know what? Speed kills, right? That's when you look at this player, you look at Ryan, he's a speedster.
And long.
Yeah, he's a long guy, but he's a speedster. He's going to catch you no matter where you run. Outside, inside, he'll find you. And that's like the scary part of a good inside linebacker, good linebacker in general, is he's always going to be there near the ball because you just can't get away. And one of the best things you said about linebackers is not having false steps, knowing the right angles, never going to lose that time, lose that second that you need to make the play. And the fact is, well-rounded, versatile. These are all key things that get you on the Frank's Finest list.
Yes. Next, another linebacker. This was a difficult one because there are twin brothers on this football team. Well, I don't actually know if they're twin brothers, but they have the same last name. I believe they are brothers. And that's Mark Mariah of Clarkstown South High School. He has a brother, I believe, John, who was on Frank's Finest list last year. But these both brothers, it's crazy that they're both the starting inside linebackers at Clarkstown South. But I went with Mark this year, and he was honorable mention all Rockland County. And it's not a diss on anybody, but Mark made the list this year. John made it. I just wanted to make a note of that. I really like the way he attacks the line of scrimmage. I really do. This is another kid who takes good angles to the football, attacks the line of scrimmage, always feels like he's moving forward, which is important at the linebacker spot, and he disengages blockers consistently, which is another underrated attribute. Like, if linebackers are coming clean and making plays, yeah, that's great, but real linebackers got to have that ability to get off blocks, and this kid shows that, okay? In the run game, he can make plays backside as well as on sweep, so he has enough range, and I love the toughness to him. He's very well-rounded linebacker in the run game. I also believe he has the feet to drop into zone coverage and make plays and tackles in space, and he showed that on tape as well. Things he could definitely work on, which I hope, his stance, right? If he can work on the stance is the only thing that I don't actually like about him, but everything else, there's a lot to like.
Yeah, I mean, consistency. I think the fact is he is a run stopper for sure, but the fact is he can go into zone coverage and he can still make plays. The best thing I like about him is that in open field, he'll make that play. Yeah. In high school, you'll have inconsistent. You'll have kids that get a little nervous. They might miss that tackle, but he's not going to. No. And I think that's something that is crucial in any defensive scheme. You need to have those players, those it players that will make the play we need him to, and he's going to do that.
Yeah. Now, these next two players, we couldn't come to consensus on these, but I think they were both deserving of winning, and that's why we both put them on. And I'm going to start with the outside linebacker and really call him athlete, and that's Rasheed Hobson of Spring Valley High School. Second team All Rockland County. Not a tall guy, 5'9", 190 pounds, Mars. And when I spoke to Coach about him, they call him the quiet assassin. Okay, he's a versatile player, plays multiple spots. He'll do anything to help the team win. I love that, hearing that from a coach about a football player. And when you watch him play, the biggest thing is versatility. I mean, he's versatile on defense. He's versatile on offense. They really do move him all over the place. And he's another one of those players who knows how to blitz. He can blitz from the outside. He can blitz from the inside. They send him. He makes plays. He can penetrate. And I think he has that speed to stop the outside run. There's a couple times that people tried to test him outside, and he makes the tackle, and he sets the edge. And this is just another kid who I like the versatility. I like, you could tell he's another baller. He's really a key cog for that team because of his versatility and because they use him in multiple spots. And I believe he's deserving to be on this list at the outside linebacker
Yeah,
spot.
You kind of mentioned versatility, right? We're going to keep mentioning that all show. That we just named the show versatility, right? But the reality is he's a pure athlete. And the fact is that if you get a nickname called the Quiet Assassin, that means you're pretty damn good. And I think that's the best part, is that he will be anywhere you want him to be, and he'll play his heart out at any spot you put him in. And that's the best part, because it's versatility in a nutshell, right? Being a leader, not just on the field, but off the field. And, being that leader is meaning doing whatever coach asks you to do and playing whatever spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Another linebacker, Mars, Lucas Perez Segnini of Rye High School. This kid is 6'3", 195 pounds, good size and length. But this kid has speed, 4'6", 40, right? This kid's got good speed to him. And again, another tall, long athlete who shows that versatility. He can play on the edge and use his length and his speed, to stop outside runs, to set the edge, use his long arms to fend off blockers. He shows ability to pass rush off the edge as well. Okay, he uses that speed, his athleticism, the length, which again, I really like. But he shows the fluid hips, the quickness to be in coverage, whether it's zone, whether it's even man. Right? This kid has, again, another long, versatile athlete, and you see that trend. Those are the kind of football players that I really grow to, and I think they're one of the better ones in the section. And this kid's another one that proves it. I mean, there was one play, I forgot who they were playing, but he was in coverage out in space. He read an in route, jumped it, picked it off, and went the distance, right? And then they'll show another play where they're running option to him, and he'll level the back, right? So he has that versus. He's not just a coverage guy. He's not just like a guy who rushes off the edge. He's a guy who can do multiple things, and this is another kid deserving to be on the list.
Yeah, versatility, an athlete, he can do it all. I think when you're a defensive coach, you want to get kids like this. You want to see a guy that can play both in coverage and on the run and do it very well, right? And that's the best. I mean, that's my favorite part about him, is that, like you said, he can hit you on the edge, or you can just cover you and just take a pick to the house if you want him to, right? And that's all the intangibles of a player of this caliber.
Finally, to wrap it all off, obviously we couldn't make this list on defensive front seven without this kid. We teased him in the last segment. Franco Milano of Brewster, Mars on the defensive end spot. This kid was third team All-State. He's committed to Division I Stony Brook, so obviously you could see the talent there. This kid, 7 sacks, 20 tackles for loss last football season, Mars. And when I spoke to Coach about him, he gave me an interesting story. He coached him in 7th grade basketball. And he wasn't a great basketball player, but one thing he noticed about him, he was knocking dudes around. He was leveling dudes on the basketball court, and it kind of foreshadowing the type of player he is on the football field. Coach says he's an absolute hard worker on and off the field. He has a great confidence about him, but he has a goofy personality that everybody loves, right? So you could tell, he has that switch. He's got a certain personality off it, certain personality on it. When he plays football, he was dominant. He was dominant last year in the run and pass game. And again, it starts off with his burst. He has a good stance, good burst off the line of scrimmage. He knows how to get skinny, like we talk about. Getting skinny through the hole at a guy his size is difficult to do. And it's because he's got a nice rip. Okay? He has a nice rip move to get off blocks. He has really strong hands. We talked about his hands on offense. He brings that same hands on defense where he can really push around an offensive lineman and control him. And as a pass rusher, sometimes he can win with strength. Sometimes he can win with speed. So he brings, winning multiple ways. It's not just a bull rush to him, right? He can sometimes, he'll use a spin move. Sometimes he'll use a rip. Sometimes he'll just run around you. And then sometimes he'll get his hands inside you and drive you into the quarterback. Okay, so he is a special type of player, and it's obviously why he got committed to Stony Brook, Mars. The thing I love about him even more than everything that I described is his motor. I love his motor. He sometimes wins on just pure effort, and he makes plays backside on just pure effort. Pure effort. And, that's the thing. When you mix talent and you mix high motor, you get a special player like this, and he definitely rounds it off.
The fact is, he's on this list twice. That's that's already impressive by itself. The reality is, in my mind, this kid's a monster. Right?
Absolutely.
The fact that he can now beat you off with his speed, he can just beat you by doing a nice technique move. Or how about this? You just run right through you.
Yep.
That's the best part, is that as an offensive line coach, as a defensive line coach, this is my favorite type of player to watch and to coach, is somebody that could do it all.
Yeah.
Right? He finds his way to the quarterback, and when he gets there, he makes the plays. And the last thing you mentioned is motor. The fact is, he'll never give up, and that's the best part of any athlete.
Yes.
And that's why he deserves to be on this list twice.
Absolutely. He absolutely deserves it. And I actually did a breakdown on Franco Milano, and we'll show the audience what I think of Franco, excuse me. For this video, we're going to talk about number 54, Franco Milano of Brewster High School, located right here on the screen. He plays defensive end and tackle. And I'm going to focus in on the defensive end for this video and what I believe is the top defensive lineman in Section 1. And there's a lot of reasons why I find this kid to be the best going into next season. And first off, he has good size. At 6'3", 248 pounds, he has a good size, good frame. And I've seen him win reps multiple ways, whether it's in the run game or in the pass game. He has multiple tools in the toolbox. I've seen him win with just pure strength. I've seen him win with a rip move, with a swim move, and with a spin move. But what I love the most about this kid is that he's relentless. He has a very high motor, and he makes plays and causes havoc for offenses just by sheer will, by sheer effort. And to the point where offenses have just decided to run away from him. But let's go over a couple plays that show this trait. And like I mentioned, he's right here on the screen. This time the offense is actually going to try to go to him, okay? They're going to do a sprint out. And a sprint out, the quarterback wants to get on the edge so that he can either throw to one of these 3 receivers or he can run, okay? Bruce is going to send someone off the edge, which is going to take up this running back. It's going to be a one-on-one block. But watch how Franco uses his strength to set the edge and then make a play, okay? Look at him push the tackle with his inside arm 3 yards up the field. Now the quarterback who wanted to get to the edge can't. Okay, he won't go beyond the hash mark now. Now that he's got the quarterback inside of him, he's going to make a move and finish the play with a spin move. Look at that. Spin with a sack. One more time. Look at that. That's a great job. Let's go to another play. Okay? Located right here now. This is in the run game. All right? What the offense is going to do, they're going to run a pitch sweep, and they have everyone overloaded. The tackle's going to be pulling in here. Tight end's going to try to block. Watch him blow this play up. okay, using strength and then his hands to get off the block. He bench presses the tight end 3 yards back. And look at him. He's taken up 3 blockers, okay, which is going to free up the linebacker. This is a great job. Now he's going to get off and finish the play. Let's watch it. All right, Mars, coming down the stretch. We're going to the defensive backs, okay, and also the kicker. I don't want to forget about the kicker. We have kicker on here too. But starting at the defensive back spot, we're going to start with one of the defensive back, Mike Farnan of Clarkstown North. This kid was first team All Rockland County. Again, not a big guy, right? He's listed at 5'9", 160 pounds. You're talking about not a tall guy and not a thick guy. But I tell you what, he may not be too big, but he is a thumper. I mean, he will knock your shoes off. He'll knock your head off coming over the middle. He really is a missile, and he plays like he'll run through a wall. So when you try to catch a ball over the middle, you got to be wary of this kid because he will hit you. He's fearless, and I love that about him. I've seen him line up as a high safety. I've seen him line up in the box. I think he's real solid against the run. A good tackler. He does a lot of good things. The tackling in open field is big to me. He has the ability, although I would like to see a little bit more man. Didn't see enough of that. I think he does a good job in zone. He really does act like a real solid box safety who can stop the run, who can scare wide receivers going over the middle. I just like, the makeup of this kid. The fearlessness is what really he plays with, and I really like about him.
I mean, the best part about any athlete is the ability to be all over the field, right? Yeah. And when you look at Mike, at the end of the day, he's like you said, he's a high safety or he's in the box, and you as an offensive quarterback or any offensive coach, you're looking for this dude because he's going to make a play no matter where he is.
Yep.
And the fact that, like you said, he's got a lot of power in his core that if you come in the middle, you better be watching out for him because you're going to get a hit really pretty hard. And not a lot of athletes can hold on to the ball after taking a hit from him. No. Probably my favorite part is that he's a missile, like you said. He's going to run right through you.
Absolutely. The next defensive back, Mars, Isaiah Davis of Nyack High School. This kid, when I spoke to Coach about him, he was moved up as a sophomore on the varsity, and he really told me how much he has grown and matured to this point. He's one of the strongest kids on the team, really hard worker. And, I don't, when I watch this kid play, he's not very huge, right? He's got good thickness to him at 180 pounds. He's not very tall. But I tell you what, he plays strong. I mean, he can run with receivers. We know he has the speed to run with receivers, but he can also bang around with them. He won't get pushed around by big, tall receivers. He can do some press coverage, which I saw, which I liked. He has those fluid hips, and he shows the ability to change direction and break on the ball. This kid has the tools, to be a really good defensive back, and you saw that on tape. He has it there for him. I also like his awareness in zone. He knows how to pass off routes. He can see routes come into his zone. He jumps them. This kid is an impressive defensive back. I'm really excited to see him in this upcoming season, Mars.
Yeah, as you said, moved up as a sophomore. I mean, it's already impressive to be able to come up pretty early and get started that way. But you kind of mentioned a lot of things I have here is that, speed and strength. He can kind of stick with these receivers and kind of bump and grind with them. And the fact is his footwork is really what sets him apart. And there's always room for improvement, but he's one hell of an athlete.
Yep, he absolutely is. Next coming up, Mars, you can call him a strong safety. You can call him an outside linebacker. I like to put him in that, box safety type role, and that's Joe Krause of Our Lady of Lourdes, Mars. He was honorable mention all Poughkeepsie Journal last season. And this kid, he committed to play Division II ball at Assumption. He's a wrestler. He's a lacrosse player. You're talking about, again, a multi-sport athlete with good size at 6 feet, 200 pounds. He's really stout against the run. He's really stout. It's hard to run outside of him. He's another kid who can really thump you. He really knows how to set the edge using his speed and his strength. He's a good finisher. He knows how to finish tackles. He knows how to get you to the ground, and I really like that about him. And he has the athleticism. Again, multi-sport athlete, has that athleticism to play in zone coverage, to play in man. He's another one of those guys who can do a little bit of everything, and he's another kid who was really impressive when I watched him.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned this pure athlete, right? Multi-sport athlete. I mean, that's something that's impressive in a high schooler in general. But the reality is, he is a scary run defender, right? Run stuffer. And you kind of said he finishes. And that's like a very important thing, especially if, you're touting yourself as being a box safety, someone that's going to be there to stop the run, and you need to be a finisher. And he's constantly doing that. He's consistently a great athlete on the field. He's going to really help in all different ways. He's versatile. And you know that magic word, versatile. We got to add that in there. So,
of course
that's the point.
We've been adding it all night. Finally, to round it off, Mars, the last defensive back, Jack Bartlett of Rye High School, the senior, and this kid, I believe he is one of the better stunting defensive backs in the section. He uses his good timing, his ability to tackle, and Coach obviously has a lot of faith in him sending him on stunts. When you send DBs on stunts, you have to have faith that he's going to make the play and get home, and this kid shows that consistently. I think he's really solid in the run game. A guy who, again, versatile. He could be a high safety. He could be in the box. He could do a bunch of different things, but one thing that really stands out is his ability in the run game. I also think, they run zone over at Rye. He does a good job reading routes into the zone, jumping routes, making tackles in open field. This is another kid, impressive kid at the defensive back spot, and he rounds off our defensive back and defensive list for this group.
I mean, he's just one of those it factor players. The fact that he can play in high safety or in the box, and he's going to make the play whenever he's there, whenever he's available, and he's always there. That's the impressive thing
around
about
the ball.
him. He's always around the ball, and that's the best part about a defensive back. Is a lot of times people say linebackers are always there, defensive linemen are always near the ball, but when the defensive backs are always near it, that just tells you that they're aggressive and they're playing hard, and they want to make the play, they want to make the hit, and that's a very impressive thing for a high schooler.
Absolutely. And finally, to round it off, we did have a breakdown of Jack, and we'll show the audience of what we thought of Jack. For this video, we're going to talk about number 6, Jack Bartlett of Rye High School, located right here. Kid plays strong safety and wide receiver. And at 6 foot, 190 pounds, solid sized kid. He's also a versatile safety. I've seen him play in a high alignment like you're seeing right now. I've seen him play in the box. He was acting like a linebacker. And I think he's really solid in the run game. He also shows the ability to drop into zone coverage, use his eyes, find receivers coming to the zone and attacking it, which I like. He also shows a knack for blitzing. He shows really good timing on his blitzes. Now, things he could work on, I'd love to see more from man coverage. I'd love to see him do a better job of lowering his pad level when making contact, whether tackling or taking on blocks. Sometimes he gives a little too much surface area. So that's something definitely to work on. But let's go over a couple plays that I like. Mentioned he's located right here. We're going to show his knack of blitzing, okay? So what the offense is going to do, they're going to motion this slot receiver behind the quarterback, and they're going to run back where the motion was, pulling a lineman. He's coming on an inside stunt. Watch the timing, okay? See where he's located, and watch the timing on this blitz. Okay, look at this great timing, and he just blows this play up. And that's just from the timing, okay? It's an artwork, okay? It's a really good job right here. Okay, blitzing is an artwork, and that is just tremendous timing, and you see that often with this kid. Okay, let's go to another play. Here he is located again, right in here. Okay, he's going to be covering the hook the curl zone. Okay, he's going to be stepping up. They got trips this way. The route combination is as followed. The most inside receivers going out. The most outside receivers coming right in. They want to hit this guy quickly, and they're running a post on the number 2 receiver. Okay, watch him use his eyes. Again, and he sees this guy. Look at him attack the ball. And watch this. This is what I call alligator arms. Okay, he sees this guy attacking him. He doesn't want to come over the middle. He does a good job, and then he's going to hit him just for a little extra, which I love, right? Finishing the play. Okay, not a cheap hit. Just give him a little love tap. Start from the beginning again. Watch him. He uses his eyes. He steps up. He sees the receiver. He attacks. He doesn't wait, and that's what causes this play not to happen. Give a nice little love tap at the end. All right, Mars, finally, to round things off, we always include the kicker because special teams is a huge, important thing. To round it off, Mars, we chose Sean Levins of Clarkstown South High School. This kid was first team all Rockland County at the kicker spot. I think it was a pretty simple choice. I think this kid proved to be the best returning special teams kicker. And again, there's not a lot of stats put out there for kickers. But when you watch him play, I believe he is the best returning guy, and he deserved to be recognized as the top guy on our list, Mars.
Yeah, he's consistent. I mean, that's the important thing about any special teams player, let alone the kicker. I mean, that's in high school, it's difficult to find one. It's difficult to find that guy that you can always rely on whenever you need to get those extra points in, to get those field goals. He's going to be that guy that helps you out.
Absolutely. And that is the roundup, Mars, of our Frank's Finest, our reveal for Class 1A. I hope you guys all enjoyed this show. I know we didn't get we won't satisfy everybody, right?
Yeah,
but
of course.
These are the top kids, in our opinion, that deserve to be recognized. If you guys have questions on why we chose what we chose, you can always message us. It won't change it, but we'll try to inform you on why we did what we did and the criteria that we use. If you guys have questions about that. But these kids absolutely deserve to be recognized, and boy, are we excited for football to be coming back and watch these kids play, and they deserve to be called Frank's Finest.
Exactly. Frank's Finest list is always a very thorough process that we go through. And Frank, I got to applaud you for all of this bravery you put forward to finalize this list.
Yeah.
All I can say is, I appreciate your hard work and your dedication to make sure that even with all the hate mail you're going to get soon, but understand Frank means well. And if we can have a list of 100 players, we would.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, there's got to be some that get named on there and some that unfortunately can't make the list. But like you said, Frank, we're excited for football to be back.
Absolutely. And we appreciate all the feedback that we got from the coaches, and the coaches that we haven't spoken to. We're always welcome to talk to you and talk to anybody about football. We're really excited to keep going. We have a couple more, obviously, videos of the other classes and the independent league in Frank's Finest. And then we're going to get into the programs and talk about our previews for the upcoming season, hopefully in March. So we're really excited. I hope everyone enjoyed our first show, and we'll see you all very soon.